Hello and welcome to another Matura Express English stream. My name is Chris and today we're gonna talk about graphs and all the fancy stuff. As I've already told you in the introduction to the stream, today's stream is all about graphs, charts, tables, and statistics. We're gonna look at the overview of today's stream. I've structured it as follows. We're gonna first have a look at types of graphs, charts, tables, and statistics. Then we gonna practice, or I'm gonna show you some useful phrases for describing graphs, charts, tables, and statistics. Then we're going to describe graphs and charts, then tables, and then statistics, and at the end, practice and demonstration of describing graphs and tables, which I'm which I try to do as best as I can. So basically there are a few types of graphs and charts and tables. In this case, this is a pie chart. Normally a pie chart looks like a pie, therefore it's a pie chart, and it's separated in those pieces. In this case we have, I think, percentage is with what we are working here. In this case it's shares in percent of all households, which is here in this case a breakdown of electricity consumption in 2008 by categories of consumption. And always be sure to first have a look at this pie chart or at your chart in general and check out what it shows, and then you can start to describe it. Basically, that's how you start it. But of course there are also graphs. So graphs are there, we're gonna first have a look at the tables. Charts like this, or statistic basically with high numbers of users. It's basically a statistic of top 20 internet countries with highest number of users in 2013. Then we have our graph here, a beautiful graph. Of course there can be more lines in a graph, of course, but it's always written on the graph or chart or statistic or tables what it is all about. So it's not that difficult actually to find it out or to work with it in your case. So on the right side here, this is a table, and in this case it shows the percentage of homicides with firearms. So that's basically the 4 things with which we're working, or with which you will work, you will have to work in the oral exam. And of course during your course And you should be aware of those 4 things so that you can best study it for your exam, for your oral exam. So basically we have certain vocabulary or phrases that are very useful to apply them to an explanation of a chart, of a pie chart, graph, table, and so on. And those are basically always the same. So once you've studied them and learned them by heart, you will certainly or hopefully remember them and then best use them for your exam. And for example, we have vocabulary such as increase. So increase or decrease. Decrease is of course the opposite. Climb or fall. Rise or drop. So rise and drop are also more power. Drop is basically if something plummets, like to fall off very quickly. In the next one, it's almost the same. So it's very in a quick way. So it's not that slow, like a slow decrease, or it's more rapid. So stagnate is when something does neither increase or decrease, so it stagnates, it stays the same. So if, for example, the price of Apple product stagnates, which won't happen, but for example, just that you know how what the word means. So it's the same in German. If you know the German word, you are already ahead of the others. Or fluctuate. Fluctuate is basically up and down, but not in a very quick or extensive manner, but very little and very little increase and decrease. So fluctuate is like, imagine waves. Yes, and phrases, of course, we have phrases, very useful phrases for you. The graph shows that in 2011, prices increased by, I don't know, 2%. Or this pie chart illustrates that doesn't matter. I don't have an example now, but you get what I mean. So another phrase you could use with a pie chart or another chart or table is, in this case, the slices of this pie chart compare. So what do they compare? They compare, for example, cars or electronic cars with conventional petrol-powered cars. Or if you have, mostly with graphs, if you have a graph, then that shows temperatures or sales or anything similar to that. You can use the phrase, of course, temperatures or sales have increased since February or increased in February. Talking about the past, of course. Or something has increased, decreased, slightly. It's significantly or dramatically. So use adverbs to describe in which manner they decreased or how fast, basically. Or something has increased, decreased slowly, gradually, steadily, rapidly. Of course, something can also remain relatively or extremely stable. Something can also level off at a point, which means that it stopped increasing or decreasing. Normally it's used with both, but yeah. Something can level off. So let me draw your attention to this part of the graph. Is some sort a useful phrase, since you won't discuss the same thing over and over. So the same amount of sales, for example, in February, because you want to describe the whole graph. So you can then use a phrase like, let me draw your attention to this part of the graph. This part shows this and this. So, and then of course you can compare to graphs or different values. Something is as big as, so the same as, or something is bigger than something. Or smaller, of course. That's also possible. So those are phrases you should keep in mind, and you should write down in your notebook or vocabulary book. I don't care where you write it down, but you have to write it down and remember them. Otherwise, you will... No, I can't say that you're not gonna pass the exam, but it is very helpful that you that it helps you to successfully pass the exam. That's the best explanation, I think. In this case, we're gonna talk about describing graphs and charts with the help of those fancy explanations, which I really liked. And of course, they are from your book, Berufsreifeprüfung für something. The book Berufsreifeprüfung, you all know that you have that awesome book. It's, if you have a look in the table of contents at the very end of the book, I think, and in the very end of the table of contents, you will find those graphs. So if you have a look at your book, but you don't have to look at your book because I've prepared it anyway. So those are basically some additional vocabulary that helps you to describe graphs and charts. So basically, you can, if something increases, so in a very gradual way, so you can use the terms boost, climb, rise, to go up, and so on and so on. But if something increases very fast, something can rocket up, or soar, or shoot up, or skyrocket. Those are terms you should use if something increases in a fast way. Or of course something can peak. So a peak of a mountain, remember it. And of course in this case, in this case here, that's the and then it decreases, and you can also use phrases such as to reach a maximum or to reach an extreme. And then it plummets or decreases or slowly decreases, gradually decreases, and so on. Be creative and use the terms we show you. And of course, there are the other phrases that for something to describe something that decreases. And it is important to use different phrases and words, since if you're always talking about something is decreases, then it's quite boring to listen to it. So it declines, something can fall or drop or deteriorate. So very, very nice one, yes. Something can also, if it's it declines or decreases very fast, it can collapse, crash, plunge, to slump or to plummet. And something can also reach a low, to hit the low or to bottom out. So those are basically the phrases for increasing and decreasing things, or sales, or doesn't matter what. And those are the phrases we can use for if something is stagnating. So to remain stable, steady, unchanged, stay constant, stabilize, to stagnate, or something can also even out, so to flatten out, level off, or level out, to stop falling. So describing statistics, I just want to show you this link, which is from Pew Research, a website all about statistics. In this case, it's about statistics that tell you all about gun-owning households in the US. In this case, 42% live in a household with a gun. So 3 slices. It's all described here. Try to compare them, maybe. The second biggest slice shows 30% of the people who live in a household with a gun currently own a gun, but compared to the other 11%, they know someone who owns a gun, or they live with someone who has a gun, basically. And of course there is a chart, not of course, but in this case there is also a chart which helps you to explain further things that again helps you to describe it in a more detailed way or add something. Yeah, so that's basically a pie chart from statistics, a valid website. So we're gonna post a link in the description after the stream. Anyway, we're gonna change to our slides again and move on to describing tables. So in this case, we have columns and lines with tables. So you, of course, should know what the columns say or show. In this case, the first column shows the countries and the second column shows the percentage of homicides with firearms. So the first column shows, the second column shows. In the first line you can see that Colombia has a almost double, almost a double. Oh. Yeah, you get what I mean. So, or you can compare, of course, compare the countries. In this case, the countries compare the lines with each other and try to explain it to the examiners. It doesn't make any sense if you just read the table as follows, like Colombia 85%, USA 46%. Yeah, you won't get that good assessment out of it. So, or the second highest number of homicides with firearms can be found in the US. According to this table, can also start with a sentence like this, according to this table, or it is important that you use those phrases. Or it is quite surprising to me that 37% of all homicides in Switzerland are committed with firearms, which is still surprising to me. But I don't know if this table is super valid, but yeah, who knows? And yeah, try to use those phrases and then you will be set for the oral exam. So now we come to the practicing part of demonstration of describing graphs and tables. And I've provided you graphs, one graph and this pie chart. So I think it's best for you to practice it at home so that you can revise it, maybe together with me in the stream, just as you want. Do we have any comments by now?
Yep.
Okay.
Silence out there.
So what you want to start with is that you describe what the graph, table, or statistics show. It doesn't make any sense if you start right with this first slice of the pie shows the second slice. Doesn't make any sense. At first, explain the very obvious. There's a headline to each graph. There is the axes in the graphs are labeled. Normally, they should be labeled. So explain the whole thing you look onto. You look at, not onto. And then, of course, explain what the horizontal and vertical axis show. Line, graph, or bar chart, of course. We have different things, or columns and rows. Lines in this case. And then start to describe the actual graph or the other things we discussed about. Not discussed about. And now that's the pie chart. And we're gonna start with simply explaining what this pie chart is all about. In this case, this pie chart is about the electricity consumption by categories of consumption in 2008, and this is the breakdown of Austria. The individual pies of this pie chart illustrate the shares in percentage of all households. So, first step done. What does the graph table statistics show? And then explain the slices. You don't have to explain every slice, of course, but you can maybe start with a very small or very big one, which is, I think, a good way to start off. And maybe you can also think about what surprised you the most. So in this case, I'm going to start with, the heating takes up 20.5% of all the shares or all the electricity consumption of, and then start comparing or using the pie chart. So it is surprising that the water heating takes up 70.25%, but the lighting only 8.5. Now I got it. Yes. So basically, that's the very basic concept of how you started. So we had PowerPoint doesn't. Now it works. We started with 1, then we moved on to 2 and 3. So we're gonna do the same with this here. So I've provided this super fancy graph, which
That's pretty cool.
did by myself.
Sure.
Yeah. And I basically did it that you can practice it. So I won't. I think it's better now. This way. In this case, it shows worldwide sales of product Y by company X. On the vertical axis, you have units sold, and the horizontal axis shows the months. And of course, it starts somewhere, it increases, then it skyrockets, then it fluctuates, then it plummets, and then it skyrockets again, and again it plummets, and then it slowly decreases, of course. Just a hint how you can do it. And since we're at the end of the stream, I want you to tell me what phrases you're using for describing graphs and charts, and which are your favorite means for describing those charts or graphs, or what is your favorite type of those four things we talked about. Let us know. We're gonna stay a little bit online so that you have some time to come up with your answers. Write them in our comment section below, and we're gonna answer them next, in the next stream, or even now. So, be continued. If we have any questions.
Really?
If you have those...
Really? Oh, yeah.